Today on The Spin, it's Wildcard weekend in the NFL. Will there be a huge underdog surprise? And can the Vikings bounce back in LA? It's all next on The Spin. Hello, my friends. Ali Melendez welcoming you to this NFL Wildcard Weekend edition of Sports Insider's The Spin. Thanks so much for joining us. I cannot believe we're here. But yeah, Wildcard Weekend is upon us, and we have some really interesting matchups across the board. So stay with me, because we're going to break it all down for you in a minute. But first, a quick shout out to our friends at BetOnline. You know them, you love them. Now, all of our odds here on The Spin are provided by BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and number one source for everything football. So, of course, you can find everything, and I mean pretty much everything you need for the NFL playoffs at BetOnline. Once again, thanks so much to BetOnline. Love you guys. All right, here we go, friends. It's Wild Card Weekend. My goodness. Here's Drew Butler, Anthony Becht, and Jonathan Casillas. What's up, fellas?
What's up, Ali? Thanks so much. You are right. We have made it, guys. It is the NFL playoffs. It's Wild Card Weekend, one of the most fun weekends of the entire football season. Drew Butler here, joined alongside my best buds, Anthony Becht and Jonathan Casillas. And we've got some amazing matchups to dive into, so let's do just that. And we'll start with some Saturday night action with an AFC North divisional battle in the wild card round. The Pittsburgh Steelers heading back to Baltimore, the third time these two teams have played so far this season. 8 p.m. Eastern kickoff. This one's over on Prime Video, so you'll have to stream it again on Saturday night. Anthony, right now, the Ravens are huge 10-point favorites, and this total sits at 43.5 points.
Yeah, the exciting time of year. And these are matchups, obviously, that always heighten the awareness of everybody. You finally get into the show, and we remember as players when we got to the playoffs, everything's off the board, records off the board. But I will say this, it's all about what's trending and what direction. And you couldn't be more opposite in directions than these two teams. I get the division, all that stuff, third time playing. I would say if one of the teams had won two of the first two games, that's a problem, or at least a tougher spot in third game. I had that in the playoffs. That was a tough spot to be in when I was coaching the UFL. To beat that team the third time, that's where it gets difficult. I just think right now, a couple things Ravens got going for him. Lamar Jackson, he's probably the MVP. I think he's eclipsed Josh Allen. He's had a better finish. His numbers are off the chains. He's doing it with his legs, his arm. I mean, he has really become the most complete quarterback in the NFL, and it's scary because Derrick Henry in the backfield really makes a difference. Their defense is playing much better than they did in the beginning of the season. Now, I will say this, 10 points is a lot for the playoffs, guys. I mean, even though the Ravens railroaded the Steelers the last time they played a couple weeks ago, I could see it happening. I just feel like there's going to be something there. On the Steelers side, though, man, you look at Russell Wilson, he's taking steps back. George Pickens looks like a guy that's really not enthused to play football right now. Yeah. Mentally, he doesn't look like he's there from a football standpoint. A lot of drops. He's the go-to guy. What's his mindset? Maybe on the road it's better. Sometimes when you have those issues, you don't hear your own fan base kind of booing in your ear when you're not playing really well. And Najee Harris hasn't been really – he's been a guy. He hasn't been a back that you could say, okay, you could cancel him and Derrick Henry out. Just because it's a playoff game, I know Mike Tomlin's been in these situations. Even though he hasn't won many of them, it's always been close. That's a lot of points, guys, honestly. I'm going to take those points, go with the Steelers, but I think the Ravens will be in control of this game, in my opinion, throughout.
Yeah, they're going to be in control of the whole entire game from start to finish. And if they get an early lead, I expect them to hold up to them 10 points, man. At first, when I looked at it, I was like, man, 10 points. Divisional game, teams that play each other, that know each other, Mike Tomlin. But then I started thinking about it, man, the Steelers, they're on a good team right now. Like you talk about teams trending, most teams are trending. All these playoff teams are trending in the right direction. They're finished the season strong. Not the Steelers. The Steelers, they fell off a cliff. Kind of similar to what Philadelphia did last year, where they started out really good, really hot, and then all of a sudden, they start playing some teams, and then they get exposed. And Pittsburgh has been getting exposed. And like you said, George Pickens, I think he's one of the better receivers when he's on, but he hasn't been on. It looked like he's not even interested in playing at times. And if that shows up this weekend, it could be a big cluster boom for the locker room. And the Ravens, the way they're playing, they can drop 21 points on those guys real quick.
Yeah.
So look, I think it might be a close game, but look, I'm gonna go with Baltimore. I'm gonna lay the points because I think they're rising to the top and they have a point to prove. It's not going to be against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to be about who they're going to play the following week or the week after that because they got something to prove. And I think they're going to show a message this weekend against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, guys, it took me a while to come to a conclusion on this one. Back and forth, back and forth. I love the Ravens, then I love the Steelers, then I love the Ravens, then I love the Steelers. And here's why. There's so many contradicting statistics because these two teams have so much history. Since 2011, Mike Tomlin, as an underdog versus the Baltimore Ravens, is 13-3-2 against the spread. And make no mistake about it, the Steelers' offense has been completely anemic. They lost 4 straight to finish out the season. You're hearing now that they might put in some packages for Justin Fields. They're going to have to do whatever it takes to wake up the Pittsburgh offense. However, the Pittsburgh defense, that's what's been keeping them in it. I mean, they held the high-flying Bengals offensive attack to just 19 points in week 18, and they've had success against Lamar Jackson this season. Lamar Jackson, in his 2 games combined against the Steelers, only good for an 87.9 passer rating. That was his worst of the 2024 season. He's also going to be missing Zay Flowers. According to reports early in the week, Flowers went out of the week 18 game with a knee injury, so one of his Pro Bowl weapons will not be there. I think that will just lean more towards the Steelers absolutely selling out to stop the run. However, this statistic, guys, made me really change everything. Double-digit home favorites have gone 14-3 against the spread. That's 82.4% in the last 17 playoff games. How can you make a case for Pittsburgh's offense? They look absolutely terrible. I think the Ravens are on a revenge tour. They've got Derrick Henry. Todd Monken's not going to make the same mistakes he did in the AFC Championship game last year. So I'm going to roll with the Ravens. I'll lay the 10 points here as well. All right, let's go to some Sunday afternoon action. We'll stay in the NFC, a 4:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff over on Fox. This Sunday, the Green Bay Packers are heading to Philly to take on the Philadelphia Eagles. Anthony, it's a rematch of the Week 1 game in Brazil. The Eagles are 4.5-point favorites. This total 45.5.
Yeah, much different teams, although very powerful. I worry about a couple things. You got some quarterbacks that are coming back. Hurts hasn't played in a while on concussion protocol. He'll be back. Jordan Love will probably be back in this game, but what's he feeling? How's that going to look like? And he's going to lose one of his main targets in Christian Watson. I look at 2 places that the Eagles kind of take this and run with it. Number one, the guys up front, that's a problem. You got a quarterback that's kind of gimpy, and you start thinking about, hey, I don't want to take those hits. And you start seeing, those proposed ghosts that are out there sometimes. That'll be a big question mark for me as Love comes into this game. After that, you look at the run game for both teams. Man, Saquon Barkley, he's rested for a week. He gets I just think right there alone is going to be the huge difference, and that should open up a plethora of passes for the Eagles in their passing game. And I get it. Hurts being out. I just think that just helps him succeed a lot better in this football game. The one thing I worry about me, guys, and we remember this from last year, is Green Bay going on the road to the Cowboys. And I think before I had my popcorn and before I had my hot dog and my beer, it was over. The game was done. They were ready. So Matt LaFleur knows how to get his team ready for these circumstances. But I will say this, I just think Eagles are just a better team. Dallas had question marks with that team. No one really believed in them. Eagles continue to shine every single week. I'm going to lay those points. I'm going to take the Eagles at home. I think they win this game by a touchdown.
Yeah, I hear you, Anthony. Look, the Eagles, they're a fantastic team. They're a great team. The Packers, they're a good team, right? They don't really do anything great. Jordan Love, even, he's had great times, but he's been a good quarterback, consistently this year. With his injury, I don't know if he can get to that good mark against this defense, right? A lot of teams in Week 18, they rested their players, right? Most of those teams lost. The Philadelphia Eagles, they played their 3rd-string quarterback against the Giants, and they won. They rested everybody, and they still won.
The
That's how good
Giants,
of a
though, Jonathan. That's the
team they are.
Giants, though.
But still, it's their backups that beat a NFL team, right? That's how deep they are. They have depth in every position. They have all-stars at every position. You look at their offense. You look at A.J. Brown. You look at Devontae Smith. You look at Goddard. Saquon Barkley, Kenneth Gainwell backing him up.
Yeah.
The whole offensive line, they're solid. My thing is, if Jalen Hurts plays, that's a big if, right? He hasn't cleared quite yet when we're recording this. I think you really have to pay attention to that. And I think they win regardless. But if Jalen Hurts doesn't play, I think you got to go with those points with Green Bay. But if he does play, I will lay the points. I think it's handily with Jalen Hurts playing this game.
Yeah, it's a tough number here. Eagles settling in right as a 4.5-point favorite. And you go back to week one, I don't think you can really put too much emphasis on that. But the Eagles beat the Packers 34-29. Of course, that game was in Brazil. And the Packers, yeah, they're sliding a little bit towards the end of the season, and the injuries are mounting. Anthony, you touched on it. You lose Christian Watson, who was like a security blanket to Jordan Love. He's out for the remainder of the season. And Jordan Love, playing against the Bears in week 18, he gets banged up. Hand, elbow, seems like he's going to be good to go, but those things do matter. Jalen Hurts, of course, still in concussion protocol. I'd be shocked if he doesn't play. You just got to think that they're going to give the Green Bay Packers a heavy dose of Saquon Barkley, and that Eagles defense is notorious for getting after the quarterback. How will Jordan Love be able to get outside the pocket and extend plays when that's what he does, guys? Jordan Love elevates his game late November into December. That's when he plays his best football, and that's when Matt LaFleur can really open up the playbook for him. The Green Bay Packers have experience of going on the road and winning playoff games, much less keeping them close. Jordan Love, 2-0 against the spread so far in his young career as a playoff quarterback. Jalen Hurts, 2-3 against the spread. So I just think this line's a little bit outside the realm of comfort. I think it's a field goal game. I think the Eagles win, but give me 4.5 with the Green Bay Packers. All right, let's wrap things up with some Monday night playoff action on Wildcard weekend. We're staying in the NFC. The Minnesota Vikings, who had an unbelievable regular season. Of course, they didn't win the NFC North, so now they have to go on the road to take on the NFC West champions, the Los Angeles Rams. This game's at 8 p.m. Eastern over on ESPN ABC again on Monday night. And it's a pick 'em, guys. There's no line. Who's going to win, Anthony? It's a pick 'em between the Vikings and the Rams. The total is 47 points.
Yeah, we've had those popcorn games I mentioned in the past. You know, I got to go a different term for this game. This is my red siren alert game as I look at this one on the docket. I have a problem with this one. I'm a little worried about the Vikings. And the reason, here's a couple of reasons why. Number one, the Rams already beat them by 10 earlier in the season. Yep. They didn't look good in that game. And Matthew Stafford carved up the Vikings defense, who has played really well this season. Number two, you go back to last week watching that Detroit game. Everything was on the line. That's how you judge your quarterback, your head coach. Man, it just didn't look the part. Defensively, they played strong, but eventually the Lions were able to pick up, and Sam Darnold, to me, did not look good. No contract. Kevin O'Connell is kind of a lame duck coach. They'll probably bring him back, but all those question marks loom. Everybody wants to have that security. Is that something mentally that's there? And Sam Darnold's going to have to step up and prove he can do it. He's going to have to do it on the road. Sometimes in Vegas, guys, they put lines out there that speak volumes to me. And this one, to me, is alerting me that there's probably going to be a lot of heavy action on the Vikings. I just think this is some type of a trap. I feel like the Rams are in a good spot in this situation. I think the Rams beat the Vikings. It's been a great season for the Vikings, but it only brings up question marks moving forward for a guy like Sam Darnold as a long-term answer. And can he win the big game? We'll find out. If he does that, he'll secure his spot with the Vikings moving forward. If not, it's only going to bring up more question marks about really a 14-win team this season. Wow, that's crazy. Any team would want that. Who would have question marks? But sometimes, guys, you know how it is. Those things start raising antennas in the big games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Detroit Lions last week against the Minnesota Vikings, they put out a blueprint against these tremendous wide receivers in Sam Darnold, who've been getting off the entire year. But they do have three losses, two against the Lions and one against the Rams
Yep.
during the regular season. And look, the Rams been playing some good football, and they were one of those teams that rested their starters. They played a hungry Seattle Seahawks in Week 18, and they almost came back at the end of the game with Jimmy Garoppolo, pass falling short. They almost came back and won while resting their starters. So I think the Rams, they're mentally ready to go to the playoffs. The question is, can the Minnesota Vikings can they battle against man coverage? Can they battle against a six-man blitz, a six-man addition where they're green dogging them linebackers? Because that's what the Lions did last week, and it's not hard to do that or implement that in any type of defensive scheme. So I definitely expect the Los Angeles Rams to take something from the Lions and put pressure on the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm with you, Anthony. I think the Rams go ahead and win this game at home against the Vikings.
Yeah, it just seems like the wind's kind of been taken out of the sails of the Minnesota Vikings after going 14-3 in the regular season. I think it's the same record they had a couple of years ago when they had a first-round exit in the playoffs also. The Vikings just have a tough road, even if they do want to continue on through the NFC playoff bracket after having that amazing season. And in comparison, the Rams have been playing with a ton of confidence. I mean, they absolutely woke up in the second half of the season after, I believe, a 1-4 start to the 2024 campaign, guys. Now you turn around, they're NFC West champions. Sean McVay, a Super Bowl champion. Matthew Stafford, a Super Bowl champion. They know what it takes to make a run in the playoffs. Yes, the Rams beat the Vikings 30-20 in late October back in LA. So same exact situation and environment, guys. And you have to give Matthew Stafford a pretty significant advantage over Sam Darnold in this matchup, as well as Sean McVay against Kevin O'Connell, the teacher versus the student in this matchup. This line opened up with the Vikings being a 2.5-point road favorite, and almost immediately, Anthony, it's been put down to a pick'em game. I got to ride with the Rams here. I think this is a great spot for Los Angeles. I think they win on Wildcard weekend. They beat the Minnesota Vikings. They got more experience, more rest. They're playing better football. To me, it's a no-brainer. Give me the Los Angeles Rams on Monday night. It's Wildcard weekend. It's always so much fun. Sprinkle a little college action, too, Thursday and Friday night. So we got tons of football to look forward to this week. Always keep it locked in right here at Sports Insider. It's The Spin. All lines provided by Bet Online, of course. For my guys, Anthony Becht and Jonathan Casillas, I'm Drew Butler. Allie, we'll throw it back to you.
Well, thank you so much, guys. Amazing job, as always. It's going to be such an exciting weekend. I cannot wait. But my friends, unfortunately, that's all we have for you today. However, before I sign off, a big thank you once again to BetOnline for providing all the odds on today's show. And I've also got to tell you about BetOnline's new same-game parlay builder, something you might want to look at as we head into the NFL playoff games. All right, we'll combine full game markets with game and player props to turn a small wager into a huge payout. BetOnline's got thousands of betting options and combinations to choose from. The more selections you add, the bigger the payout. You know what I'm saying? Cha-ching! Just hit the SGP button when looking at odds in the BetOnline Sportsbook and get in on all the action today. All right, for real now, that is it, my friends. Enjoy Wildcard Weekend. It is going to be epic. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you right here next time on Sports Insider's The Spin.